if you think about your income today, just what you earn through your job, is there within financial services and pensions, is there a figure that you would say you're going to need X% of that as a kind of rule of thumb?
You're constantly hearing that money isn't worth what you think it is because of inflation and the fact if you leave it sitting in your bank account, it's depreciating rather than anything else.
It's one of those things that you just don't learn in school. There's no real education around it when you're younger. So you now get to the age that you're working and you're asked to put into a pension and you don't know how much you should be putting away, why you should be doing it when you're likely to access that money.
So I think I'm possibly putting maybe too much emphasis on what I think I need versus the reality of what I probably do.
Of course, so how much do you need coming in guaranteed as a minimum might be different to how much you want to spend on a flexible basis. So.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another True Potential Do More with Your Money podcast. It's Friday the 15th of October today and this is Top of the Chop. It's episode 90. So let's meet our guest today. One of the questions we're going to be asking them is how much do you need to retire? And to answer that we've got, where should we start? Diane Patterson's back on the podcast. Hello Diane.
Are you alright?
Yeah, it's the first time you and me have ever done a podcast
Yes, it
together.
is, isn't it? Which is weird.
Why do you keep looking at my...
Because I'm trying to see what your notes are so I can get a handle on it.
All those questions I've got lined up for you later on.
We've got Top of the Shop, Blind 90.
Yes.
And here I am, you and I, first podcast.
I'm glad you got the bingo.
That's what you do on a Friday, isn't it?
Do you?
Bingo. Well, my mum does. It's an old ladies. Is it an old ladies thing? Do young people play it nowadays? Don't know, Rebecca. Do young people?
On that note, let's introduce Rebecca. Hello, Rebecca.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good. Not playing bingo tonight.
No.
Edit.
Bongos bingo. That's the thing.
There we go.
There you go. That's the modern take. There we are, right there. Luke's with us. And Luke, is it your first podcast?
It's my first podcast. Yes, my debut.
The very first one.
Yes,
What did you do wrong to get dragged into this?
I think somebody else was on holiday. No, I think it's my time, isn't it? I mean, there didn't be 90 of them, so.
And in true, first time on the podcast, what else have you done for the first time this week? That's what we need to know, Luke.
I wasn't expecting that. For the first time this week, something very boring. I've started running again.
Have you?
To try and get fit, and try and lose a bit of weight.
Yeah.
So 10-minute run. Hopefully a little bit more.
And have you got some? Was this on the back of our Great North Run
TP
big event? Is it inspired you?
Inspiration, maybe. Who knows? Maybe next year you could see me doing the Great North Run. So yeah, we'll see.
Oh well.
You've said it now. You are not getting out of that. First podcast, and that's where you've gone.
I have noticed that on these podcasts, people do tend to make notes of what gets said. So you are like.
Great.
Bang the rights now for that one, so we'll be expecting to see you next year. Before we get into it, because we are going to talk about how much do you need to retire, I wanted to say if you've missed any of the previous 89, what's 89 in bingo? Do you know that, Diane?
No.
No?
Well, no, definitely don't know what 89 is.
I think she does really, she's just pretending that she doesn't.
Well, no, because I think the last time there was a bingo number on here, it was the
88.
Yes. And David did talk about what 88 was, and you actually politically corrected him by saying that's not 88 anymore. So, no, I don't know what 89 is.
Okay. Well, if you've missed any of them, you don't need to worry because they're all on YouTube. But also you can just hit that big red subscribe button and then you won't miss any of them ever again because all of these podcasts and morning markets will magically find their way to your phone or your laptop or whatever you watch this on. So hit that subscribe button and sit back and chill. Right, speaking of sitting back and then chilling, retirement.
Yes.
How much do you... I want to just first of all get an opinion from all of you three on how much you think you would need to retire in comfort. How much money would you want per year in today's money to retire comfortably? Come on, Di. I know you've got an expensive handbag habit. I know that, but let's like...
I know. But no, I mean, flippantly, that is the thing, and I'm genuinely struggling with it at the minute because...
The handbag habit, or...?
Yes. I would never get something that I can't afford.
Yeah.
But in order to genuinely start looking at whatever retirement would be for me, I am going to have to start making changes to what I spend, because I think a lot like other people, you put it off and you put it off and put it off, and at some point there does become a catalyst where you're actually like, no, I am a real grown up now. I do actually have to save towards retirement. So I don't know. This is something that I would say to Luke.
This is a very Diane kind of answer, isn't it?
It's hard to put a number on it because it depends on a lot of things, and mainly you mentioned how much you spend.
Yeah.
So a true potential, we look at how much you'd spend on essential basis and a discretionary basis, what you spend now, when you want to retire, and how much you think you're going to spend in retirement. So
Yeah.
really, it's very hard to put a number
No,
on
no,
it.
but I'm going to force you to, because house rules, I'm in charge of this. So we're going to get into some of the things to maybe consider shortly, but I'm not going to let you off for that one too easy, Di. I need a number.
Right, that's fine. But can I just ask, then, are handbags classed as essential spends?
I mean, maybe for yourself. I wouldn't say for me. But
Say it right, then maybe. I don't know, because by the time I retire, is there going to be a state pension? And that's what I'm really struggling with.
There's an answer in there somewhere. There's a number. Come on, Diana, I'm not going to move on till you give me a number.
Right.
Can I help you a little bit here while you think about it?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we've done at TP since probably 2012 is what we call the Savings Gap Survey. So we go and survey members of the public. We've probably surveyed 40,000 people so over the last 8 or 9 years. And the figure that always comes out is about 25 grand, is what people would say, that if you had 25 grand in today's money coming in per year from their pension or just from several pensions, just that much money is what they would need to live in some kind of, to live comfortably, to not be struggling. So 25 grand is like, there's a number on the table. No?
I think I'm going to need more than that.
Right.
Because, again, by the time I come to retire, what is the state pension going to be?
Mm-hmm.
I've never not worked, so my contributions are already almost fully paid up. And yes, there's an indication as to age as well. But I'm almost fully paid up by national insurance contributions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably guaranteed a full state pension, but given the chatter at the minute about state pension, where it's going, what's going to be available, I don't think I can actually count on that. And by the time I want to retire, I don't want to retire and just live a normal, comfortable life. I want to do things that I can't do because I'm in full-time employment, and I can't just disappear and go travelling. And that's where my mind is. Like, realistically, what do I want to do? I know when I retire, I can't just retire and do nothing because I'll go absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But would that be do something with an income, or would that be do something just, like I say, disappear and away I go? Look, what do I do?
yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And I think in regards to retirement, I think when you first retire, certainly you might want to spend a lot of money and enjoy the first few years. But maybe as you get older, you might not need that level of income all the way through retirement. You mentioned state pensions there. Obviously, the state pension age is due to increase. But once you've got, 1 or 2 state pensions coming in, that's a good level of secure income. So it's a tough one. You might need more in the earlier years, and you might need more as you get older. So it's something that you have to consider
How
on
do you
an
weigh that up,
individual
though?
basis, really.
When you think there's so much going on everywhere that we talk about pensions, I possibly should have dipped out of this because I want to save for retirement, but right now I don't think I want to lock it away.
Yeah.
I do want to, and I have got an ISA and I have got a GIA, but I know I put less in my pension because I'm fearful of it's locked in a pension until I retire.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of me that's cautious between giving up the habit of spending completely right now and just going full in pension versus actually I'll put this away that I know if I do genuinely need it, I can possibly get my hands on it.
Yep.
And I also contribute to my pension. Don't get me wrong, I don't contribute the minimum. I do contribute more than the minimum into my pension by some way. But again, I can't, mentally, I can't physically give up as much as I know I can afford into my pension right now, simply because I don't want to.
Yeah.
I think it's finding the balance, though, isn't it? You don't want to detriment your quality of life now too much for quality life
But
later
is that because
on,
Peter's
so
now making me feel guilty that I don't have a figure and I'm now going, I
Well,
need a figure to retire on?
I think we know what you're trying to say. We're gonna go with 50 grand is what Diane.
Okay.
Diane's going to go
Fine.
home and look at her handbags and cry.
Yeah.
I need to sell them all.
I think she might just go and buy them all now. I think she's got to get by on 50 grand or whatever, or 25 grand in a few years' time. Just buy them all now. Buy the handbag. I'm sure there's a little meme I've seen on Instagram of that. Luke, come on. You look like a man who's got a number in his head.
We don't spend as much, so I'm going to say maybe 18, 19, 20,000.
Yeah. So you're pretty much bang on with, in the kind of ballpark of where the public are, not too far from that kind of 25 grand a year-ish.
Maybe
number.
slightly less, give or take.
Good. Come on, Rebecca.
We've not made.
You must have a number.
I think 25.
Is about right?
Is about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable figure.
Yeah. Because by that age, you'd hopefully have paid off, your mortgage and things like that, and you might have your ISA, which you're putting into now to build up to be able to pay off that mortgage, for example. So on 25 grand a year, probably you would think. I mean, is there a calculation in terms of your income today? I mean, you probably deal with a bit of this in your day job. if you think about your income today, just what you earn through your job,
Mm-hmm.
is there within financial services and pensions, is there a figure that you would say you're going to need X percent of that as a kind of rule of thumb?
So we look at, obviously, rather than income, expenditure.
Mm.
So we look at expenditure now, and then obviously expenditure in retirement. As I mentioned before, you're going to have essential expenditure that may move forward.
Yeah.
You mentioned mortgage will be an essential item that will drop off.
Mhm.
So a lot of people will spend a lot less than what they spend now. As a minimum, I would expect 2/3 of current expenditure. People normally do spend less in retirement. Social activities can increase to start, but once you hit age 70 and maybe above, you're not likely to go on a lot of expensive holidays abroad, maybe. But yeah, we look at essential, we look at luxury expenditure, and we see what's going to continue on into retirement. It's all about that expenditure now, and obviously the closer you are to retirement, the easier it is to gauge. For someone like myself, who hopefully who is a long way away from retirement, then it's quite hard to gauge. But someone who's at retirement, you can clearly see what might change.
I think.
Do you feel old now? I feel old.
Yeah, well, that's why I said there's an indication when I'm almost fully paid up.
Thanks.
I'll just move around this side.
You're not coming back. Anyway.
I think when I think of £25,000, because you're constantly hearing that money isn't worth what you think it is because of inflation and the fact if you leave it sitting in your bank account, it's depreciating rather than anything else. So I think when I think about £25,000, you're right. I don't think I'm thinking about it today. I'm thinking about what £25,000 might be when I retire.
Yeah.
And I don't think that would be enough, because if I start to do the sums between £25,000 per annum, if I'm doing nothing every day, I have to be doing something at some point, or I have to have something to look towards or to plan or to do, because like I say, I can't sit still, she says with her hands. I'm on the go all of the time.
You really assaulted me 4 times.
But I am on the go all of the time.
Yeah.
And my mum's exactly the same, and I can't see that changing for me. So I think it's very easy to pin what I do on a financial standing, because I think if you've got money there, you can refer back to, well, I can go away, or I could have weekends away, or we can do something. So I think I'm possibly putting maybe too much emphasis on what I think I need versus the reality of what I probably
correct.
do.
Of course, so how much do you need coming in guaranteed as a minimum might be different to how much you want to spend on a flexible basis. So yeah.
It's almost like you work in like very complicated coding kind of.
It's weird, isn't it?
Very detailed, very much down to the.
You can see the brain processing.
Yes, the computer in the background.
Error.
Yes. Control Alt.
Yes, delete.
Shut down.
Reboot.
Tell us, because it's not just pensions people can save into now. There's all sorts of other ways you can contribute towards a fund, if you like, to build up. And then we'll talk about some of the true potential ways that you can do that. But just give us a feel for what some of the ways are.
So firstly, you mentioned pensions, and obviously you mentioned, Dan, you sometimes are adverse to put into pensions, but obviously pensions have the big, the tax reliefs for when you contribute. The employer matching, so it's always good to use up those pension allowances first, and obviously that's within a tax efficient wrapper that you can then access at retirement. There is other products, of course. There is the ISA, which you mentioned, which is a little bit more flexible in terms of when you can access, so it's still a tax efficient wrapper. The annual allowance for the ISA obviously is lower at 20,000, but that's also a good product that you can invest in, so I'd definitely recommend looking into those two first as tax efficient wrappers, which obviously you can do with true potential. There's then also the GIA, which is a little bit less tax efficient, but it's also a vehicle where you can invest in funds as well. So really there is more than just pensions, but there is a lot of benefits of investing with a pension first.
And let's move on to one of the things that a lot of people watching this would, from a client perspective, would be aware of, which is the automatic enrolment, the way that companies now have to offer all staff a pension. But just describe a bit about what that is, if you wouldn't mind, Rebecca, and then also how we provide that service from True Potential.
So there's legislation in place which means that if you are working, if you're employed, you are entitled to a workplace pension. There's criteria which sets out whether or not you're going to be automatically enrolled into that pension, but regardless of whether or not you meet that criteria, you are still entitled to opt in if you want to do so. The criteria is that you've got to earn over £10,000 a year and be over the age of 22, so majority of full-time working people will qualify. If you don't qualify and you ask your employer, you might still be entitled for them to pay in as well. But the real benefit of it is that not only are you going to be paying into your pension in the same way that you would do for private pension, but in most cases your employer is going to be paying in as well. So you're getting that extra boost of the company paying into your pension, plus you're getting tax relief on top of your personal contributions also.
And auto-enrolment came in What was it, about 8 or 9 years ago? It's been around for a while, or was it
Yeah, about
around
2012
Right.
was when it all changed. It really sort of kicked off, start of 2016 is when the majority of businesses...
when it started?
Yeah,
to be
some
felt.
of the bigger businesses were a bit earlier, but
Right.
2016
And
most.
is it about like sort of 10 million people or something are enrolled? So these are people who perhaps wouldn't have necessarily had a pension. They may have done through their employer, but now they've got to have one. And what are the contribution levels that people would have to pay in?
Yeah, so the contribution levels at the moment, they total 8%. So that's broken down between the employer, the employee and tax relief. So you have 3% coming in from the employer, the other 5% is your personal contributions and your tax relief, which is going in.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it is their first savings account. We know that from speaking to some of the workers that are enrolled in the schemes when they're calling up and asking us about their pension. For a lot of people, it's a door opening as well. So a lot of these members will then say, well, actually, I want an ISA. I don't want to put all my money away and lock it in a pension. But I do want to start saving more, and they start to then get that education through some of the goal setting features that we've got on what they need to be putting away.
So if you're a business watching this, you might run a business and think, well, I know, or you probably would have your pension set up right now, but you may not be happy with where you are. True Potential can provide that service to all sorts of companies, and we do, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a really wide range of clients, and I think that the main thing for a company is trying to offer more than just a pension scheme. So there's lots of schemes out there which will tick the box, they'll make you compliant, they ensure you're not getting in trouble, and you can put the contributions in there. But the great thing with True Potential is that your clients your workers aren't just getting a pension, they're also getting access to our technology. There's financial education in there. So one of the main things that we hear and businesses will ask us and workers will ask us is, can you tell me more about it? Why should I be saving? And it's one of those things that you just don't learn in school. There's no real education around it when you're younger. So you now get to the age that you're working and you're asked to put into a pension, and you don't know how much you should be putting away, why you should be doing it, when you're likely to access that money. So your workers are going to get all of that just from you subscribing to True Potential as your workplace pension.
I think that's, again, cutting back to my fluff at the beginning in terms of I really don't know. I think you possibly have just nailed why I don't know, because when I did start work, there was no such thing as an auto-enrolled pension. You had to you'd go out and you'd find a personal pension. And at the age of 16, when I had a Saturday job and then coming into full-time employment, again, employers didn't always have a pension that their employees could subscribe to. And I think had I have had the mindset that I've had since I joined True Potential and really genuinely understanding finance and what it means personally to you, I think my the reflection of the way that I feel about a pension, as in like, yes, it's locked away, I don't think that would be the same, because I'd already be in the habit of assigning a portion into a pension without even having to think about it. It just becomes something that you do, like paying your mortgage or your utility bills. It comes out and it's gone and that's it, done. You don't think about it anymore. And I think that's possibly why I was saying, because like I say, I would fully subscribe, personally I'd fully subscribe to an ISA first, and then I'd go more into the pension. But
So did you have a pension when you were doing your Saturday job?
no, I got paid cash in hand. I still got a pay
What was
slip,
it?
but it was still official.
Okay. What was
It
your
was
job?
official.
But not name the employer, but what was
No.
your job?
Well, I worked in retail, so
Ah,
it was a Thursday night after school, and because I stayed on, I did A levels and stuff. So it was a Thursday night and a Saturday, and then when they brought in Sunday working hours, Sunday was double time. So everybody wanted Sunday because, of course, at the end of your shift, you got your money.
Probably needed
Double
a
cash in hand. It was
carrier
two
bag for
hands.
you, cash in hand. I was quite lucky because I was self-employed when I was in my early 20s, and I had a financial advisor who put me into a pension, a personal pension. But if I hadn't done that, the first employer that would have ever put me into a pension probably wasn't until I was in my early 30s.
Yeah.
So I would have missed, potentially 10 years worth of doing something.
Yeah.
And that was just a fluke. Because at 22 or whatever I was, I would have had. I used to think, you financial advisor, I trust you. I want advice. You're saying set up a pension, I'll do it. But I wouldn't have. I didn't go looking for it. It was the advisor that got me started. So
I don't think you understand pensions either, because
well, I think I do. But I mean,
not you per se. But when I was included in an employer pension scheme, I was part of the civil service, and you essentially just got a pack. Nobody came to explain to me what I was signing into, what the salary sacrifice side of things meant, what it meant by the employer contribution. I genuinely just knew that I was paying into a pension, and that was as far as it went. So even then, I didn't really know what it actually meant, and whether I had options, whether I had to go into that pension scheme or whether I could go somewhere else. Because, like I say, it largely was, you're now a member of the civil service, here's the pension that you will be paying into.
I think a lot of that is still the case for a lot of people across the country, and we really try when we're putting out our communications to people being enrolled to educate them on what it is you're getting. But we know that isn't the case everywhere, and a lot of people do still just get that pack, and you've got a pension, you don't really know what your choices are.
But equally with us, it's not locked away. So because you have the technology, again, my civil service pension, can't do anything with it. I know that the portion that I have is still somewhere doing something, but I can't really get access to it. Certainly have no idea about it. Whereas with us, any pension that you have with us, it's not just blindly locked away where you're kind of like, what is the figure? What's on it? Has it increased? Has it decreased? The technology that we provide gives you access to all of that information, your transaction history, your fees, your charges, where
well,
you're
talk a bit more about the kind of, because Rebecca, you mentioned the tech that people get if they were to switch their, say, auto-enrolment provider from wherever they are to True Potential, their employees would get the tech. You and your team build that tech. See what I did? That was a lovely little setup for you.
It was, yes, thanks.
So tell us a bit about it. So impulse save would be one thing, but also you can see your projection, can't you, for where you might be ending up. So to your point earlier on, I don't know what I'll need. The tech can help you work that out.
So there is absolutely no difference in the technology between somebody that might sign up as a standalone, independent, self-serving client and the pension that we would provide them versus the pension that you'd get in the auto-enrolled scheme. The technology is exactly the same for every client across the board. But yes, you're right. You can go on, you can create the pension, you can subscribe into your pension, you can contribute as little as £1 through Impulse Save, or a maximum of whatever you feel like. You can commit to a direct debit, or you can do it on an ad hoc basis. The graph will show you where you're at currently. It will ask you for information such as your age, when you want to retire, and what you want to retire with. And the graphs themselves will then plot so that you can actually see what your target is versus your projection. So you can actually see as you move through towards your retirement journey, you can see whether, you're likely to hit that target, or whether the pound that you're putting in should probably be £2 or £3 or 4 or 5. It will guide you along the way. But you'll also have all of the market information as well, all of the videos that we do. Will educate you without kind of trying to educate you, if that makes sense. It just becomes, it's like a subliminal message. When you go on there and you see it day in, day out, you understand what it is that the technology can actually give you. And it doesn't feel like it's locked away because you can see it.
I think that's really important, you know, when you can see it every day, you can log on, you can check the value, you can make sure that you're up to date and you're on track for retirement. Makes people more keen in terms of, you know, wanting to learn about the pension, makes them more keen potentially to invest more in the pension and, you know, look at where they are with retirement. So I think that's really important for clients.
There's we talked before about, if you like, almost how much you'd need at the end of your pension, whether it's 25 grand a year, 50 grand a year, whatever it might be. But of course, to get anywhere near that, you've got to have built up a pot in the first place, and that means putting away, whether it's a monthly or whatever regular amounts. We know 8% is, if you like, the basic auto-enrolment, if you like, starting point. But what should people be thinking of in monetary terms, or as a percentage of their salary? What should you be putting away each month? I still wouldn't really know. I know what I put in, I know what I can afford to put in, I know what I think feels about right. But what does the kind of the world say would be a good number or a good percentage of your salary to put in?
I think it depends on a few things, you know, in regards to the client's risk tolerance and when they want to retire again. But I think if you look at a safe withdrawal rate, I think you can look at maybe 3-4%, and obviously that depends on things like investment returns.
Is that on the way out though?
Yeah, so when you
retire, on the way in, if you're in, let's say people like us now who are working, what should you be putting in? £500 a month? Should it be 1,000? Should it be?
It's very hard to gauge again, because you know you could have a client who's retiring in 2 years' time or a client who's retiring in 10. But I think if you go for, obviously you've got the 8% with the auto-enrolment pension, I think that's a good start, and then obviously just look to build from there.
Yeah. So let's take somebody who's, I don't know, if you were say watching this in maybe you're 30, go back to someone like when I described myself. If I hadn't been started by a financial advisor earlier, probably when you hit 30 is when I would have personally begun to think I probably should be putting some money into a pension that I'm not doing.
Yeah.
At that age, you've maybe got 35 or so years until you'd be hitting retirement age. Would 500 quid sound about right, or should
that sounds like a good amount? Obviously it depends on
the earlier you start, the lower that can be.
Definitely. Obviously you've got a compound effect, so the earlier you start, that investment growth is going to compound. So
Yeah.
definitely the earlier that you can do it, the better, no matter what you can afford. So I would definitely recommend looking at your surplus income and how much you have spent, investing that at an early age,
Yeah.
because that does compound up to retirement. Yeah.
And there's a few little tricks we can do, isn't there, to help people if you things like true potential rewards. So if you're buying something online, you can get a bit of cash back, which can then go into. Can that go into pensions as well as ISAs? What are some of the tricks that we can do to help people?
Well, when you said tricks there, I was thinking, what am I missing out on, Luke? What am I not getting? But no, I mean, obviously I've talked quite a little bit this morning, so for Rebecca, if you want to.
Yeah, well, I think...
That's very nice of you.
I know.
Never ever heard you ever say that before, but let's take the opportunity.
TP rewards is a great way to get into a habit of saving a little and often.
Yeah.
It partners with a top company called Top Cashback, who, Diane, you actually used well before we
Oh,
launched
yes.
TP
Free money.
rewards. And I know you spoke quite a lot. You were telling me I need to get on it and start doing it. But what it allows you to do is when you're doing your shopping online, you'll have seen all these different cashback offers that you can get, but when you're claiming your cashback, rather than it just being a couple of pounds which is being paid into your bank, and really when the amounts are small like that, there's not an awful lot that you can do with it. You're waiting for it to build up. What you can do is you can set it to auto-invest into your chosen policy, which will include a pension. That money's then going straight into the market, and it's going to be working in the market with the rest of the money that you've got invested. So that couple of pounds that maybe wouldn't have done an awful lot to you had it have been going straight into your bank account can actually do quite a bit more for you over a period of however many years until you retire.
Yeah. Which is important, because when we go back to what should I be putting in each month, whether it's 500 quid or more, you might think, well, actually, I've got this, I've got my car to pay for, my flat or my rent or mortgage or whatever, so I've got this much, but you could probably, through the reward scheme, generate, as you say, extra pounds by buying things you were going to buy anyway, but getting the cash back, investing that into
it's
your
free money, and I
pension.
think a lot of people don't realise that it's
Yeah.
there to get, and you're going to be doing the online shopping anyways. You're going
That's
to
right.
buy it regardless, so you may as well get that bit back
Definitely.
Yeah.
on top.
How important is having a goal in terms of whether it's an amount or just something that you want? How important do you think that is for people when they're thinking these things through around how much I'm going to need in retirement?
I personally don't think you will be as committed to saving without a goal, because if you're working towards something, you know the reason behind your saving. If you're not, it's money that's put away, but what's it for?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I need a new roof, I'll just go and get that money, because actually you don't have to have the internal argument with, yes, but it's for my retirement. It's just, again, it'll feel like free money, because there's no goal there. You're not putting it away to secure something on your behalf.
Yeah.
I think you have to have a goal in order to get to where you're going.
Yeah.
I would agree. It's very hard to save and keep on track without a goal. Definitely, it's the most important thing. When you want to retire, how much money you need, and then you start with that, and then you can look to see how much you need to invest to get to that goal. So I would agree that it's nearly impossible.
I think
to
it's such a
face retirement
long-term
goal.
thing as well,
Yeah.
that if you get behind early on,
Mhm.
you are then going to struggle to catch up at a later
Correct.
date, so
Yeah.
you need something to measure it against to make sure you
Yeah.
are going to get there.
Does anyone know around the table what the average pension pot is in Britain when people get to hit retirement age? What figure on average do people have saved up into their pension? Do anyone know that? Anyone seen that?
I feel like you might know.
Well, I did read in the papers a while back that around about, I think it was like even less than 75,000 was the average. Now, obviously, averages mean that there's it's not a straight line. But I mean, that shocked me, because I was just working on the basis of, if through our surveys and others that I've read, 25 grand is the average. Let's say you have a 20-year retirement, you need 500 grand, don't you? And that I think comes as a shock. Whenever I mean, not that I talk about pensions too often in the pub with me mates. I mean, I think, might not be invited back out too often if I did. But I think people, or maybe it's just my mates, don't have a concept of that as a figure. They just think, well, I put me £500 a month in. Is that, am I not okay? Is that not like...
Can't just get that back out
Can I
again.
just
when
get that
retire?
back later?
So, yeah.
But when you start thinking in terms of pots of 400, 500,000, that's a wake-up call to people to think, but then, of course, you've got to do the whole, well, am I not on course for that? Does 500 quid a month not get me there? And, of course, that's quite a scary figure, I think, isn't it?
I think what's the point as well? So I think people have to understand that it is such a long-term goal that you will, there's the massive chance that you're going to get there. So don't say £500,000 and just think, oh, well, I'm not going to get it, so I might as well just enjoy my life now, and by the time I come to retire, I've had a lot of fun. Yeah, it is actually achievable. Otherwise, nobody would be saving into a pension. Luke wouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? Giving advice based on the fact that so many people do achieve and go further than their targets, and then that's where obviously you have to say, look, do you know what I mean? You could be having more fun now because you don't need to contribute as much as you think you are because of the projection tools that we have that allows us to kind of
the
determine
skills of the investment team, because it's not 500 quid a month under the mattress, it's 500 quid a month that is being invested, getting you a return, and then compounding up, and doing that over maybe 30 years it's the effect of all of that at play, which is the experts we have here that are doing that every day. That's the sort of trick, isn't it, really? But let's talk a little bit about once you get to that retirement age, as you kind of rightly pointed out, what you might want or what you might need at, say, 65 to live a happy life is maybe not what you would be spending at, say, 75. What are some of the things that people should be thinking about when they get to that stage of what we call drawdown? In other words, beginning to take that money out. What are some of the common things that?
Of course, so things we consider are obviously first and foremost expenditure, how much you want to spend, and do you have the adequate resources for that? Any large planned capital expenditure, so do you want a nice new car? Do you want to go away somewhere nice for the initial stages of retirement? And obviously you need to include those capital expenditures as part of your goal, which you can do with the TP technology. So expenditure, any large capital planned expenditures that you have. Will the mortgage be repaid? Obviously people want to be mortgage free at retirement as well, so if not, then you would have to put a plan in place to make sure that's repaid as well. So other things to think about are state pensions coming into payment. That's going to take the burden off your own personal pension if you retire before state pension age. So really it's just about creating a plan, looking at how much you want to spend, both in terms of your normal expenditure and any large outgoings that you have, and other sources of income coming in. You might have an NHS pension coming in at 65 and 2 state pensions at 67 currently as well. So
Do you think the state pension, by the time that we around the table, do you think it's still going to be available? Because every time I look at a headline, it's something to do with tax being raided here or pots being raided there, or we have to look elsewhere, and it just feels to me like we're just gradually building up to them going, actually there is no state pension anymore, we've all got you everybody is auto-enrolled now, you're going to be auto-enrolled at 22, 19, 18, 17 in exactly the same way that they've increased the state pension age. I feel like, and I could be completely wrong, but I feel like I can just see them decreasing the auto-enrolment contribution age so that you're paying in earlier, and there is nothing that the state will guarantee later on. I mean, I don't know, like...
I think that would be a big change. Personally, I can't see them taking the state pension away. Obviously the state pension age is due to rise, which is an important thing to consider, but I do think there will be a state pension. I think a lot of people will rely on it and need it, and it's something that people have paid for through
Reduce
national
personal
insurance.
Contribution, Luke just guaranteed. State equals more bags.
No, I think that would be a big government policy change. So hopefully that wouldn't be something that they would do.
Again, I think I'm just erring on the side of caution because I don't, like I said, I've never not worked. I've always kind of been self-sufficient, and I don't think I ever psychologically want to rely on the fact that I will be getting a state pension. I just want to know that what I've got I can provide personally, and if the state pension comes along aside that, great. But if it doesn't, then I haven't waited for it to happen to go, what do I do now?
Yeah, of course.
I don't think they'll get rid of it. I think I would agree with Luke. I think that would be too much of a...
Yes, that's 2 votes.
However, I'll give you a caveat. I don't think... I think, by the way, I don't mean this government, last government, next one. But I think this will be the trend for the next forever, is tinkering with it. So moving back the age at which you can get it, perhaps being a bit less generous on some of the locks and so on that we've seen a little bit of. But even if they didn't, I mean, what is the state pension? Is that $8,000 a year?
9,371.
Okay, a year.
Yeah.
Right. So and if you go back to what we said at the very start about the public's, what they think an average pension they would need, it's nowhere near. It's not even half. Yeah. So the point being that yes, they might tinker with it. Yes, it might be there in some state, in some situation or some level, but it's never going to be enough to be able to live comfortably on. Yeah. So the point being that everyone is going to have to put some personal provision, whether that's through auto-enrolment, whether or not you need to even be a bit more ambitious than just the kind of bare minimum on auto-enrolment. I think they're all kind of things that we would want people to be thinking about, because none of the other stuff on its own will do, I would think. You sound shocked.
Everyone's like, Friday morning.
Everyone's in their head now, doing that maths thing, and if I get that, I do that.
If I get 10 there, and I need 25, that's 15. See, I'm really good at the maths.
Yeah.
I think it comes back to technology though, doesn't it? In that you can tinker with how much you're paying in if you want to do so. And some of the tools on there, they not only allow you to set up direct debits and pay in, but you can actually alter the amount that's being taken off your wages each month.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, it's easier to not receive the money from their employer rather than to receive it and then have to put it away themselves. If it comes off the pay slip, then it's already gone before you can spend it.
You've got to be quite disciplined, haven't you, to get your pay and then do something with it. But I suppose, if, to your point, if it's already come off, then you don't...
You don't think about it, you don't really see it. It's just something which gets put away, and it's a little bit easier, I think, to save that way. So you can go on, you can alter the percentages that you want to pay, and you can't do that for your employer, unfortunately, but you can.
What do you think might happen if you could?
We'd all be very well off in retirement, wouldn't we? Yeah, but you can alter your own. It'll give you some projections once you put in those alterations, so you can see if I up it by 1%, 2%, what will that do for my retirement?
Yeah.
And it'll give you an idea of...
That's really interesting, because if people do pick up a pay rise or get a bit of bonus or whatever it might be, or people move between jobs and get an increase as well, you might want to think about, as you say, just going in and adapting the level you're paying in and finding that extra 50 quid a month or whatever, which all, once you do the things that we talked about, the investment side of it, the compounding, that grows to,
I think
those little bits can make a big difference.
That's really important, the concentration of the importance of the compound on any investment gains. So the technology does show an assumed rate of return, and once you see that extra £50 a month from a young age and you see the compound effect that the investments can get, that's a big driver to therefore invest that money and do that now, even though it might be a small amount per month to you now.
It gives you it all in monetary basis as well. We're not just talking about percentages here. I think it's easier for us to talk in percentages because 1% to me might be completely different financially to 1% for you. But instead of actually pinning someone down for a figure, Peter, if you ask them for a percentage, then that might be a little bit different. But it does give you
well,
the
I'll
visibility
make a note of that, because some people, Diane, like to avoid giving straight answers to straight questions, but never mind. I think we got there in the end.
Yeah, we did.
Really, how often, out of interest, you all work in financial services and deal with pensions fairly regularly in your day jobs. How often do you think about your own pension? Just, is it something that crosses your mind very often, or not?
When you're on a podcast and Peter's saying, how much do you want? I don't think about it. I think the headlines make me think about it more often than I would naturally, because like Rebecca says, I pay into my pension here, but I do also, I overpay into my pension, and I will use Impulse Save. Possibly not every month, but I will contribute more when I want to use an Impulse Save into the pension. But again, that's a choice, as opposed to, like you say, it's easier if you know there's a portion already gone in, you can decide to or not to. So some days it will just depend, but I think given the headlines, and again, we're constantly being told at the minute that money has got to come from somewhere, I think it's much more apparent, so I think about it more, whereas pre-COVID, possibly not as often as I maybe should have.
Me personally, obviously I work in the industry, I'll check my pension quite a lot. Just using the app, and really it's good that I can speak to clients about it, actually use it myself, so you can experience it yourself and see if you're on track or not. So I do use the app quite a lot, and it's quite good. You can see your pension value there.
Just quite good, look, is it just quite good?
It's very good. It's great being able to just log on and see exactly how much is there and how much it's changed. And like I said, it's a driver to therefore contribute more when you can see it in your hand and you can see what it is.
Yeah.
I think I'm different. I think about mine very little. I think when I log in, my driver's more to look at the ISA over the pension, and you see it's there at the same time, so you do look at it. But for me, it's there, it's away. I know I'm putting in every month. I'll check my pay slip and see how much is going in, and maybe make the odd top-up payment, but Impulse Save for me is more likely to go into an ISA rather than the pension. Like you, have upped my percentage which goes in. I know it's there, and I kind of trust it's a long term.
So let it just get on and do its thing.
Yeah, trust Jeff to look after it.
Yes.
So I think that's, again, possibly coming back to the age thing, because, like I say, this year I had already started to think I am going to have to stop being as, I don't know, I don't want to say the word, because whatever I spend is a calculated spend. I don't just go out. I'm not really someone that'll just go out and spend money just because I see something. If I'm getting something, I have to know that I want it, and that's how much I'm prepared to spend on it. So it is quite a calculated spend that I have. But this year I did think I am actually going to have to stop doing that, or maybe buy 2 a year instead of whatever it might be. And I think that's apparent for me because I'm going to reach retirement age sooner than you are. And if you have fully subscribed to your ISA, you do have to think about, well, where else would I put my money into an investment that somebody can look after, and it's not just sat in a bank account with depreciating. And I think for you, like you say, because you're more conscious about your ISA, you're probably not looking at your pension yet, but I think that when you get to a particular age might just flip itself, because you'll be thinking, right, actually I am getting the tax allowances, I am getting the tax, what's it again?
Tax relief and
Tax
the
relief, I
employer
couldn't think of the
matching
word.
contributions.
So you do begin to kind of look at what can I have again for free? Like, if I contribute this, how much more will that get me from Mr. Taxman?
So I want to just mention as well, if you've got, because nowadays, you know, we hear people have got about 12 different pension pots by the time they retire from different jobs along the way.
Yeah.
There's a value into putting them all into one space, just in terms of simplifying, being able to see them in one place, but also just wondering whether, you know, is that provider who did your pension maybe 15 years ago, actually, how easy is it for you to check how that pension's doing? The reason I mention it is because, as I mentioned a few weeks ago on the podcast, that pension that I talked about that I had in my early 20s, the provider, frankly, was useless. The performance was not what I would have thought to be a good performance, now that I know more about what you can get.
Yeah.
But also just the statement in the Post once a year, you know, which I was lucky if I ever got or understood. Trying to get onto their technology to see a valuation was like impossible, and just kept on crashing. And I mean, the most grown-up thing I ever did was like at 7:30 one morning, I thought, I've had enough of that. And I just transferred it into True Potential. And did it on my phone, you know, in my pajamas, you know, and it took a couple of minutes, and, you know, within a few days, it's all here and it's all there, and I can check it every day. But that whole thing about just, if you've got several pots, maybe it is better to put all your things into one place. And then, of course, you don't have to working out how much I'm going to need, how much you need to retire comfortably. It's all easy to see in one place versus having to log into different things, get some paper statements out of the drawer. There's a value in doing that, right?
Yeah.
I certainly think there is.
I would agree. I speak to a lot of clients who may have had several pensions over the years, and some of them, they don't even know where they are. As you said there, they'll get a paper statement once a year, which it doesn't really show performance, it shows how it's done compared to last year. Whereas with True Potential, you can log on, you can see every day where your investment's on, and you can communicate with the platform team quite easily. So there is definitely a value in making sure you know where your pension's on and looking at them, making sure the performance is okay, and making sure that you're on track. It's a lot easier to do when you've got the app on your phone and you can just log on and see.
Yeah.
I think we talk a lot about diversification as well, and I think some people might be a little bit cautious to say, well, actually, I don't want all of my pensions in the same place because I want that diversified. And I don't think, again, they understand what we actually do is the diversification within the investment side of things. And yes, your entire pot might be with True Potential, but your assets, the underlying assets, are all diversified. They'll be in different commodities, different asset classes. And that is what Jeff and Chris and the guys do for people that have pensions with us. So you are getting diversification within the True Potential side of things as well.
Yeah. And a lot of it. Advanced
Absolutely.
diversification.
Yes.
Yeah, hundreds and thousands of different
Yes.
holdings and stuff. So it's good point. Right, so they say that when you retire, your life is every day is a Saturday.
Yes.
Okay, so what is the one thing that you, when you hit that age, I mean, you may not have thought about it, but I'm going to put you on the spot again, Diane.
Oh.
What's the maddest thing you're going to do?
Oh, I haven't really thought about it because for me, I like the comfort of knowing that it's there, and I think that's what I was getting at this morning. I'll go again. You should have picked somebody else first, Peter, and then I could have thought about my answer. I would like to know that I've got the comfort of having the money there and that's available for me to do whatever the maddest thing is that I decide to do on that Saturday
But it
morning.
won't be around the world cruise for you. I know that.
No. I don't think I could sit on a boat that long. Maddest thing. The chances are it might not be a round the world cruise, but it possibly would be. I'm just going. Where are you going? No idea. I'm just going to go.
Well, because the reason I ask is because retirement should be fun, right? It's not meant to be a kind of like, you know, how much can I just survive for the next 20 years on? It should be. It's, you know, you've worked hard all your life. These are I'll say it now, they should be the best years of your life, right? When you can think, I can enjoy my retirement now. And pension, the word pension, you know, conjures up an image of, you know, a pensioner, you know, somebody who's just like, you know, basically, you know, just sort of
playing bingo.
Getting by, playing bingo. We're back to bingo again, but it's meant to be fun. It should be enjoyable, right? And that's why I'm wondering what are you going to do to enjoy when you hit retirement? How are you going to celebrate? Maybe I should have said that.
Sometimes do you want to do something because you know you can't? And that's what I mean by I won't have made a decision about, but knowing that it's there, knowing I've got the security of that pension and I can just do what I want when I want to, that means a lot to me. So possibly, like I said, possibly the craziest thing for me would just be going, I'm going somewhere. Where are you going? No idea. Let's go and have a look.
I'm just
and
gonna get
just
on the
being
bus.
able to do it. I'm going to get on the bus with this pass. It's free.
Will it be the metro centre? Will it be the town? I mean, you know,
who knows? The
where will I
world
go?
is my oyster.
How many bags will I come back with today?
Have you thought about it?
The maddest thing at retirement, maybe just a crazy holiday.
Crazy holiday.
Somewhere crazy.
Yeah.
Hopefully I've done all of the mad things before retirement. But, maybe
Yeah, mad is obviously relative. You know,
Yeah.
at 65, you're probably not going to go and, I don't know, why not go and like do a bungee jump or jump out of a plane? Why not?
skydive or something like that, yeah. I'll wait until retirement for that, yeah.
Yeah.
Saving it.
That'd be a great way, wouldn't it? On your the first day of retirement, what did you do? I jumped out of a plane.
Luke's goal. What's
do
his
it.
pension? He's just going to go
Skydive.
in and change his pension objective now to skydive.
Skydive at 65.
Yeah.
Oh, even right as well. Brilliant. Oh, I wish I'd thought of that one. Rebecca, come on. What are you doing?
I don't know about the maddest, but mine is holidays. I think
Yeah.
when you work and you're limited, aren't you, as to
Yeah.
how often
Yeah.
you can go away each year. You've only got so many days you can take off. So it is, just being able to up and go as
Yeah.
much as you want to.
Do you think pensions need a rebrand? Not, I mean, in general, because they should be this. It should be this kind of thing. It should be people thinking,
Yeah, there's a
you
stigma
know, how
attached,
can
isn't
I
there?
enjoy myself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the technology at places like True Potential has changed the way people look at pensions.
Yeah.
So I think you're correct that it does need a rebrand, yeah.
Yeah.
And they have changed.
Because it opens doors, doesn't it? Like you
Yeah.
say, you can see there's you have an amount on the
Yeah.
amount that you're putting in your pension. You can actually see what it's
Yeah.
worth to you. Whereas traditionally, you
Mhm.
couldn't. It was just somebody would come
paper
out.
statement through the door and then
Once a
numbers,
year, great. What
Some
does that
numbers
mean?
on a bit of paper, yeah.
Where was the one I got last year? No idea. Don't know whether that's more or less than it was.
I'm thinking of an advertising campaign on the back of Skydive at 65. There's got to be there's something in that, isn't there? You know,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
just sit around worrying about whatever else. Get out there and have some fun.
Yeah.
Right. Well, look, I think we're nearly done. So, speaking of Saturdays and every day being a Saturday, what do you do? I always like to know what you're doing this weekend. Basically, because I'm nosy, but I'm not going to start with you because I've always started with you, and I know you need
Which
to
is
think in
weird
time.
because I already know what I'm doing. But
Oh, right.
okay,
Well, I'm
only
gonna make-
the one question.
Well, in that case, I'm going to make you go last.
I am looking at wedding venues this
Oh, yeah?
weekend, yeah.
Oh,
So we're
right.
going around. You
For
didn't know
you?
I was engaged,
Oh,
yes, for me.
yeah.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. But yeah, we're going around lots of different places to look at venues and say, I don't have a ring on.
See, I knew I wasn't that not attentive.
Is that new
That's
news?
mad,
Is this like
that's,
breaking news on the podcast, or did we know that?
Well, it's like a couple of weeks.
Oh, what's
I
this?
saw it on
News,
Facebook,
but-
so I knew.
You see, I don't use Facebook, so that'll be fine. Congratulations!
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
congrats.
I want to know all about it when we get out here.
That's great because it means everywhere you go, they'll be like giving you a little glass of champagne, and
Yeah,
you can do that.
We did get free drinks actually at the
Yeah.
last one we went to, although someone told me it was May was telling me her brother was getting free overnight stays and things like that, which no one's offered me anything like that yet. So I'll be back on the phone asking for the
Well,
hotels.
just tomorrow when you go around, you can say, well, look, what I really want to know is, can I have an overnight stay for free? And I'll maybe make my
And
mind up
can,
on
can I
it.
try the food, make sure
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
alright?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow. Great. Well, enjoy that. Good fun.
Thank you.
That's quite interesting because I'm actually looking at a wedding venue as well on Saturday morning, so
Oh, yeah.
maybe we'll see you there.
There's no just for the viewers. There's no connection.
No,
to
it's
that. Just in case they're wondering whether.
we were engaged in December, so but I've got a 3-month-old daughter now, so
Yeah.
she'll keep me busy, I'm sure. And then we're looking at one venue, and then hopefully I'll get to watch some football later on. But we'll
Yes. There's a chance you might actually bump into each other if you haven't
Yeah.
shared notes of
see.
like
Maybe.
who's going where.
I've been told we need to be back in time for the football, so
Yeah.
Oh, there we are.
Oh wait, then you were so desperate to tell us.
Well, now I'm not, because given what we're doing. So,
Come on, Diane.
for weeks, I've been wanting to get into the loft and just get rid of whatever's up there that I can get rid of. So tomorrow, it doesn't matter what it's like, because last weekend the weather was lovely, really lovely. Thought I can't commit to just being up there. So this weekend I did actually, again, goal. I know what I'm doing, so I have decided that it doesn't matter what it's like outside,
Yeah.
going in the loft to tidy it out.
Oh, well, I wonder what you'll find.
Oh, well, I know what's up there. I just need to bin it. Neil doesn't know what I'm going to throw out yet, so this might be interesting.
Is he going to be out this weekend?
No, he's not. Well, he's at work. So he's at work Saturday and Sunday.
Well, that's what I mean. So he's out the house, so
yeah.
you can just chuck stuff out,
Bin.
and he'll come
And
back
I
and
can-
find that it's.
Been at will.
I can guarantee he will never ask for it unless he goes into the loft and is looking for a particular. What will happen is he'll look for something, and he'll find something else and be like, "Oh, you know what? Yes, I knew you'd completely forgotten about that, because had it have been there any longer, I was going to throw it out, but now you've seen it again, I can't." So now it's been such a long time since he's been in the bin.
Well,
Oh, I've just announced that on the internet. So
Yeah.
He's
he does
going
watch
Yeah.
to
this
hear
podcast.
this and he'll be in the loft before you
Make sure he
get
doesn't
home.
watch this
See,
until
you
like
shouldn't have asked.
Sunday. You shouldn't have answered. You could have said anything. Well, look, that's good. Well, enjoy your loft.
Thanks.
Enjoy your wedding venues.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for your thoughts today on how much do you need to retire. I think we've got a better idea now after that 45 minutes than perhaps we did at the start. So thanks very much for that. And thank you for watching again and listening in this week. And I hope that was helpful. I'm sure it would have been. If you want to know more about any of this, the best way, as I said at the start, is to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because if you do, you'll get morning markets, you'll get all of our podcasts and everything else we do as well straight to your phone. So that's the simplest way to do it. But until the next time, thanks for watching and bye for now.
Subscribing to the True Potential YouTube channel is quick and easy. Simply go to the channel on your desktop or through the YouTube app on your phone and click the subscribe button. You can then press the notification bell symbol if you wish to be notified as and when new videos are released. Doing this is a great way to keep yourself updated with market developments and personal finance insights. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, and we look forward to continuing to help you do more with your money.